aren't we?
Okay.
So yeah, basically, we were talking about Kubrick. We're talking about Kubrick and how is he? I mean, is he still? Oh, it's a bit of a controversial sort of straight into this, but do you think he's still relevant to a modern audience, to modern audiences? What do you reckon? I'm going to throw that one out there like a controversial statement.
Well,
got to run with that.
Probably not, having,
been dead for a long time.
Well, there is that.
His output's certainly diminished since 1999, hasn't it? But that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, which we managed not to record. But I mean, classic cinema. Is there still an appetite for stuff pre-2000?
No, I think everything is pretty much disposable. Whereas,
do you think anything beyond anything beyond like a year or so? It's just like, well, that's irrelevant now. It's like that happened.
Can you think of any modern classics?
Well, I think that, we were talking about. I mean,
anything that will stand the test of time.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, it's really hard to say, isn't it? What is? I guess you can only tell what's been a classic if there's been a sort of span of years and people still talk about it. It's really hard to gauge, isn't it? Like, if a film, I mean, there's so much hyperbole in movies, isn't it? And they'll say like, this is a modern classic or it's a masterpiece, blah blah blah. But I think you can only really judge that like a decade later, and if people are still watching it and debating it and discussing it.
Yeah.
So
I think the world has changed so dramatically in those 20 odd years or whatever that.
Well, the advent of streaming, isn't it? Like now, like you were saying about it's just at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Everything is just instantaneous. You do not have to even make an effort now to go and see a movie at the cinema. You can literally, if you wait long enough, or even not that long, it's going to appear on a streaming platform, whether it's Amazon or Apple or Netflix or whatever.
They release them
day and date, don't they?
Well, and they release them at the cinema, and like specifically from what I know, like on Sky. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Do premieres on Sky.
Yeah, and then there's a film coming out with it's like a zombie. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like a zombie.
Yes,
have you seen it trailered?
Yeah,
it's going to be quite a good film actually. It's got that Laputa Noir or whatever her name is in it, but that's a Sky cinema release, and it's also, isn't it on the Sky the next day or something, or maybe even the same day?
Yeah, I think they do it the same day.
Yeah, so it is kind of the lines are blurred now, aren't they? What is a theatrical release?
The importance of cinema has declined in the last few years, like since Netflix has.
It's changed our viewing habits, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
It really has.
Yeah.
And I was quite a late adopter to that, and I think we've had this conversation before, but I remember thinking I never thought it would take off.
No,
I thought it was a gimmick.
I remember getting Netflix when it first came out.
You probably had it before me then.
Fucking.
Yeah, you remember? I remember you telling me there was nothing on it.
There was nothing on it.
Just old fucking movies that you've seen a million times before.
I'm not paying for this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
I don't need to see the fucking Mighty Ducks again.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I mean, and then all of a sudden it seemed to.
It's exploded, isn't it?
I don't know what happened. I don't know.
They must have just had a massive influx of adopters who just thought, we can't be asked to go out and to the cinema.
The evolution of it
or buy
is,
DVD.
When we used to go religiously to Blockbusters, didn't we? It was like an event going.
It's a pilgrimage, wasn't it?
Yeah, going to Blockbusters, walking around there for an hour, looking at everything, choosing something that we were going to watch on a Friday night, and then you saw the decline of Blockbuster when you had all these services.
I think we even spoke about that, didn't we? Like
where they'd send you the DVD.
But there was the thing with Blockbuster. There was the sort of culture of sometimes you'd go there, and the film that you actually went to get wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And so there was that really weird sort of cultural thing of, oh yeah, we're going to watch, say, Terminator 2 tonight.
Yeah.
We go there, it's not in. So you had to choose a secondary choice.
Yeah.
And you just couldn't imagine that these days, could you?
No.
Like, how in this modern age, how would that be acceptable? I want to see this film. What do you mean you haven't got it?
Yeah.
What, I've got to watch something else? And then we used to wander around like the old back catalogue sections, didn't we? Like the horror section, and watch some cheesy fucking film with
Steven Seagal.
Yeah, exactly. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But like you say, and then it became, they would post the movies to you when it became DVD.
Yeah. And that saw the decline of blockbusters, didn't it? Because like people didn't have to make the trip
didn't have to make the effort
to blockbusters. They could just sit at home and they'd be delivered.
And then that became a bit of a hassle, because then you had to wait for it to arrive, and then you had to send it back.
Sometimes
you get the wrong film.
They wouldn't have what you wanted, so they'd send you a. You get a
runner-up.
Yeah.
Consolation prize.
This film's like the one you want, but it's not.
Or like I said, you get the wrong film in the packet. You order something and it'll be a totally different film.
Yeah.
So I had that occur, but then you still had to physically go down the post office and post it back.
Yeah.
So then obviously streaming, got rid of that hassle as well, didn't it? And so now you can literally just never have to leave your house.
But like you say, with Netflix, you can spend hours just like trying to find something that you want to watch.
I literally do. I think I'll watch a film tonight, and I cycle through stuff, and there's almost so much. I think it was a conversation we're having about music and stuff as well. Like, it's almost so much choice that it's bewildering. It's like, I've got to narrow it down. And it's like it's almost like information overload.
Yeah.
Like,
and you end up watching nothing, or
you end up watching nothing.
Half of it, and you're like,
actually, it wasn't. I don't know why.
Or you're not even really watching it when it's on.
I tend to watch more documentaries now.
Yeah.
And I think another thing they've done, and they're conscious of this now, because obviously it's all like, they all have like a sort of vox pops things, don't they? And like, committees to analyse this kind of stuff, algorithms and things. That nowadays, a lot of the dramas and stuff, the series, they're only half an hour long. They're like little bites, because I think they now think someone committing to a 2 hour. But there was a big controversy. I don't know if you heard about this recently, but like, I've not checked this out myself, but there's an option now that you can actually watch a movie at 1.5 speed.
Oh yes, I've heard.
Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I've done. So I didn't quite understand.
It's like compressing the film. So it's almost like it's faster. So I haven't got time to watch a 2 hour movie, but I have got time to watch an hour and a half movie or something. So it'll speed it up. It'll be just slightly speedy. It's just slightly sped up.
Aren't they sort of?
So maybe I don't know. Apparently, it's always been an option on the. I've never actually used it, but apparently it's always been an option on it. But yeah, you can watch it 1.5 the speed or whatever.
That's pretty fucking ridiculous.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, like, I think like the thing that's changing now also is that because attention spans appear to be lessening, and that they're even now. Things are being specifically made for a shorter running time, so you won't get the long form kind of dramas that you might used to. It's changing our viewing habits basically, like even how not just how we consume product, but how long we commit to viewing that product.
Well, with Netflix, that brought about the binge watch.
Yeah, binging, of course, yeah.
Watching the whole
box set binge, innit? Yeah.
Yeah, that there wasn't that before, was there? Because when we used to watch series on terrestrial television,
you'd have to wait a week, wouldn't you, for the next part to happen?
But that would be part of the excitement as well. All the anticipation.
How it's going to happen.
I remember
Moonlighting or something,
or Cracker.
Or Cracker, yes, yeah.
We used
Prime
to watch
Suspect,
that.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all those it was an event.
Yeah.
But now it's like, someone's told me that this series is really good. I want to watch it all and get it done, get it out of the way.
It's because there's so much more content now, isn't there?
Yeah.
So literally, when you had less channels, you had less choice.
Yeah.
And in a way, that was better because, there wasn't all these other things vying for your attention.
Yeah.
So, you know, you weren't torn in other directions. And nowadays there's so much content. You know, when you're watching something, you're thinking, I might be missing out on something better. You know,
am I wasting my time?
Can I commit to 8 episodes of this, or you know, even like The Sopranos or Breaking Bad, which is like 8 seasons or whatever. Like it's like, you know, that's almost like a lifetime, isn't it? You'd have to commit to that series. And if you've missed, you know, a couple of series, you've got to go back and start from the beginning, and then, you know, you've got to catch up, like Game of Thrones and all that kind of stuff, which is like 9, whatever it is, 9 or 10 series, and you think like, fucking hell, I can't really commit to like going back and watching however many hours of television that is. It must be like days worth. You'd have to literally just sit in your room for like a week and just like just perhaps have people deliver food to you while you
it becomes your life.
It becomes your life. It is a bit like, you know, Max Headroom. Do you remember that series, like where there was the TV movie, wasn't there, where people were just well, it was Blipverts, wasn't it? Do you remember Blipverts? And concentrated, everything was concentrated because people had no time to watch entire things, so it was all compressed. But then, the side effect was that it would blow your mind because it was all this information trying to be stuffed in your brain. I think it's kind of how we are going. It's quite prophetic, that was, really.
Yeah, you wonder what the next step is.
I was talking to my friend about how, you know, like in the old days, this was a friend, I was talking about video games and how you'd had to wait to load a video game, and it would take like 5 minutes or whatever to load
and
it
might crash
from a tape, and then it would crash. And I said to him, like, I spent more time, I remember one time I spent the entire evening loading the game, and I spent more time loading it, or trying to load it, than I ever did playing it. And can you imagine, like, today, the youth of today, or anyone accepting that? It's like, fuck that, I've got to spend a whole day, and then it's still not work.
And then it might be crap.
And it might be crap. I want it fucking now. I want it beamed to my cerebral cortex.
It better be fucking good. Or,
it's got to be good. Yeah, I've waited a whole evening to play this. And it's just a really strange kind of, well, not, you know, in some ways it's strange, but I mean, it's just completely different than what where we've come from.
But as
boomers now, because we're boomers now. That's our.
We're boomers.
That's a phrase now that I hear banded around. Yeah, okay, boomer. So if you have any counter argument about something, it's and it upsets me a bit because a lot of people it's because everything's memes now, and you only respond in memes or gifs now because people don't communicate through words anymore. It's like, I ain't got time for that.
Just images.
I ain't got time. I mean, we're guilty of that, but it's like, I ain't got time to write a message. I'll just send a gif of Mike Myers or this says it all. This encapsulates what I'm trying to say to you. You know, it's fucking Mike Myers doing his thumbs up from Wayne's World. That's all you need to know. You know, but now what upsets me about the boomer one is like, so it's like, okay, boomer, and I don't know if you remember this. This is my nerd hat, but like Boomer was a character in Battlestar Galactica, and this even shows my age now because people say, okay, Boomer, and they have a picture of Boomer, the character. But it's the reboot Boomer who was a Oriental woman.
Oh, right.
And not the old black dude who played the original Boomer. And that annoys me.
If you're gonna,
I'm proper Boomer because I'm this Boomer is annoyed, but you're using the reboot Boomer and not the old black dude Boomer. So I have to counteract that with no, this is the real Boomer. And then it just gets into like a meta, you know, like a existential fucking nightmare, isn't it? Who is Boomer?
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, it's just shocking. But that's the world we live in, isn't it? You know, it's like scary shit. But we were, you know, spinning off from that, we were talking about what people will accept as entertainment and how we initially started this. Is there a place for classic, excuse me, or even films that are older than 10 years? Do you think? I mean, I don't know about this because we're of the boomer generation.
We need a millennial here.
We do. We need. If there's any millennials listening to this,
like a token millennial.
Yeah, we need to kidnap like a 25-year-old or whatever, and you know, hold them hostage and make them watch Stanley Kubrick movies or whatever, or you know.
Take their mobile off them.
Exactly. Like, make sure they can't operate their mobile.
They can't
and
watch Netflix.
They can't go on Tinder or you know, or go on WhatsApp or whatever. But I just wonder if does a modern audience? I mean, we can't say, can we, really? But I'm just throwing it out there. And like I say, maybe millennials can answer this if they're listening. Do young audiences of movies, do they watch anything post 2000? Is that just seen as like the like the dark ages?
Maybe some do in a retro sort of way.
Do you think like maybe like we used to sometimes, and perhaps we haven't done this for a while, but I sort of remember having sort of movie parties where you'd put a film on and you'd get, you'd had like snacks and nibbles and you'd put a film on and you'd all watch it. That would be kind of like a kind of event. It'd be like going to the cinema but in the comfort of your own home, and you can obviously access your own fridge.
I don't know, like...
Do you think that's even a thing now? Or do you think,
because,
do you think they all watch stuff on their tablets and mobiles?
Yeah, I think most people do, don't they? I think that is how they view...
That's what I was going to say. Content. I mean, I can't think of anything worse than watching a movie, like a widescreen movie, on a fucking tablet or a mobile.
Yeah.
It's like completely...
But I don't think they really watch it.
Well, no, true. They absorb. They don't really absorb it, no.
Because they might have it on, but they'll be doing something else. I think we're all guilty of that as well.
Well, no, I do that. I find myself doing that, and I sometimes I'm quite sort of disappointed in myself because it's like I've almost bought into that mindset.
Because they've moved away from the cinema. Like you go to the cinema regularly. I don't anymore. But
that is only because I've got my
cinema,
my card. I wouldn't, but it's just I've got that unlimited card, so I do.
It's.
But I do think it's still worth something preserving.
Well, yeah, because you go into a big room, don't you? The lights come down, and it is not acceptable for you to mess around with your mobile or.
Yeah, sure.
You're supposed.
Even though people still do.
Some people do, don't they? But the etiquette is that you watch the film.
Yeah.
That's what you're there for.
It's,
so your concentration.
Everything else, that's the 2 hours of your day where you. Yeah. Everything else that happens outside your life is on pause for 2 hours.
Like, I might be wrong, but I think like most of the younger generation and even our generation.
Oh yeah,
now,
sure. We're getting
because
like
that. We're part of it as well.
Because there is all that debate, like you were saying about there was like Netflix killing cinema, isn't there? There's like that whole, or streaming, or like I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think about cinema audiences that I remember. I mean, I must, I'll be honest. I remember back in the 80s, you went to see a film. Often it would be sold out.
Yeah. You'd be queuing. You'd be
queuing
around the
You
block.
remember doing that, didn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, and no, that just doesn't happen anymore, does it? It just doesn't. I think the likelihood of even a massive like franchise movie selling out is really probably rare, isn't it? I can't think of the last time.
I think they try and manufacture it that
it's going to sell out.
Yeah, like with a Star Wars film or whatever. But
I suppose the last film I went to see that was really packed, the cinema was packed. It probably was a Marvel. It was probably like the Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, they do pull people in, don't they?
They do pull people in. I think that might have been like a Saturday night, so it was like a prime night. But other times when I go, there's like 3 people in there.
Yeah, I think, and it's quite sad to say, but I think cinema will decline.
Do you think it is on the wane?
Yeah, I think it will become a thing of the people probably like us.
So you'll get like perhaps art house cinemas. Yeah, they'll still be
like what is it? In London,
it'd be a niche thing.
Curzon
and the Prince of Wales. Yeah.
It'd be places like that.
Yeah.
For old people to go and
piss themselves.
Yeah. And watch,
And watch Stanley Kubrick movies.
Yeah.
Oh, do you remember in the old days?
I think that will happen because I can't see that. I mean, I think I read this about cinemas. They make their money from like the concession,
sure,
all the food and
which is the overpriced popcorn.
They don't make their money
from the movie, from exhibiting the films.
So I can't see how it has.
It's a sort of a model that can sustain itself, kind of thing.
Which will change the way films are made as well, won't it?
Well, I mean, they also say, don't they? Like, well, exactly. I think that's,
if you haven't got cinemas,
you are going to be. Well, they're saying there's a decline in physical media as well, isn't there? People aren't buying, physical media like Blu-rays or DVDs.
No, I can't remember the last time I bought a DVD.
I'll be honest with you, even I don't.
Or a CD.
And when I do buy it, this is the weird thing. When I do buy a movie, if I, on the rare occasion I do, it's a film probably I've already watched. It's like a classic. Well, I mean, obviously you've already watched it, but I mean, it'll be some classic special edition reissue of a film that's like, it's a classic film rather than a recent film.
Yeah. I
can't remember the last recent film. I'll probably buy, because, I hold my hand up, because I'm a bit of a Star Wars nerd, and even though, I'm not 100% behind the Disney sort of thing, they're sort of the way they're, how can I put it, the direction they're going with the franchise, I will still buy that series because it's something that, it's a nostalgia thing, I think, really. Probably it's probably they probably love me because I'm one of those old, like yourself. I remember the first films, and there's that sort of nostalgic element where I wanna I don't know, it's almost like just ritualistic, or it's just a thing, like I bought into that franchise basically,
it's
and
a generational.
They've got my coin. I'm a sort of a signed up Star Wars addict.
I wonder if like this generation will be like that when they get to our age. Will they be nostalgic about?
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure kids these days have nostalgia, or even like, I'm not even. I think we had this discussion about. I don't even think it's. I'm not even sure that word really means much to the generation that.
No, because they're looking forward, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're not looking back. Whereas I think our generation, we did look back at what came before us.
I think exactly. I think you're entirely right. I think what happened before informed our generation, didn't it? Whereas today, it's not about. It's all like you say. It's all about the future.
Yeah, what's going to happen?
The past is irrelevant.
Yeah,
and that does kind of tie into what we're saying about movies. Like, if
and it's boring and it's
it's old and it's slow and it's
why would I want to?
These people are dead now. Why should I be interested in them?
Yeah.
Have they got an Instagram account? No, they're dead. They died 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Why should I care?
Yeah.
Are they on YouTube? No, because they're dead. So why do I give a shit? Show me someone alive that I can communicate
I'm alive
with.
And
I'm alive. Are they alive? Can I see them, their cats and whatever, going to the shops buying a zucchini or whatever that is. That's an American thing for
eggplant.
Eggplant. What's a zucchini? Oh, it's a cucumber, isn't it?
No.
I thought a zucchini was a cucumber. God, do you know what? That's another thing.
Aubergine.
Americanization.
Yes. Yeah.
I heard someone.
Children like speaking.
Yes. Now, what did I hear? It was a YouTube. Oh, what was the word? Oh my God! It's really annoying me now. I watched this YouTube. There were two. I think they were like Manchester or something. They're two young YouTubers, and they do like a film. I think it's What Culture is the website. What did they say? And I was thinking that is such an that is Americanization. Tomato. The guy said tomato. The guy said tomato.
He's from Manchester.
And he's from fucking Manchester.
Tomato.
Hey, tomato. Hello, mate. Hey, tomato. You got no tomato? Where's my tomato sauce? Just doesn't work, does it?
No.
He said tomato. And I was like, what? And you just said, like, go on. Give me your example.
Well, my daughter.
Really?
She... Instead
I don't mean really, like, really?
You've
got a daughter.
Yeah. Instead of talking about sweets, she calls it candy.
No.
Yeah.
Cultural imperialism.
Yeah.
You see old John Mahoney is right.
That is right. And there's quite a few instances where she's said Americanisms for words. Oh, what was the other one? Frosting instead of icing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So where did she pick frosting up from, do you reckon?
Well, from YouTube.
From YouTube. From YouTube.
She's been watching.
Because she's watching American Families.
About
put some frosting on this. You know, on your.
Yeah, and that does
on your tomatoes.
Annoy me because they're instead of getting their influence from their family and their parents
and their peers, whatever,
it's coming from the other side. Well, where's it coming from?
But it just changes the whole lexicon and, like, you know, the dialect, the language, isn't it?
It's, you know, and it might be a few words here and there now, but what's to say, like, in 30, 40 years, that doesn't become part of our
language? Yeah. It's like a fucking marathon Snickers all over again, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they brought marathon back, haven't they? Have you seen that? It's limited edition, apparently.
Oh.
You can get marathon now.
Oh,
I might just buy one on.
Well, they're out now.
On principle. I think so. I saw an advert for it.
Snickers.
Snickers. Yeah, because they all had to be uniform, didn't they? Because they were Snickers in America and a marathon over here, weren't they? And
it doesn't work.
No,
when they've
never been Snickers.
What did they tried it with something?
Oh,
else,
it was Opal Fruits.
Yeah,
there's some Starburst.
Yeah.
You know, Opal Fruits made to make your mouth water. Exactly.
Remember Pacers?
Pacers, yeah. Were they the peppermint ones?
They were like stripy
ones. Were they peppermint flavour though? Were they? No. Were they flavours? Minty. Yeah. Wasn't so keen on the minty stuff.
Yeah.
But there you go. So that's scary, isn't it? Like that whole sort of Americanisation of British culture and identity and I think a lot of that is the internet and YouTube. Sorry,
it will happen.
It will. Yeah, it will. And
it'll all be diluted. Everything's diluted.
And that's why I think, you know, it's when you see and, you know, it does all kind of filter back into culture and everything, and, you know, cinema. You know, we've always struggled as a nation, haven't we, to, like, have a sort of cinematic identity, I think.
Yes.
And, you know, because I went to see the latest Ken Loach movie out of sort of, you know.
Have I lost you? You wanted to be really depressed for.
Yeah, it was fucking depressing. It was depressing, but
you knew what you were going to get.
Maybe it was out of some sort of solidarity and stand for British cinema. And
him and Corbyn are like, they are comrades, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, maybe I felt a bit obligated, and, you know, it was more out of obligation than. But I mean, I saw Daniel Blake, and that's actually that's got a bit of positivity in it. But what was the last one he did? Sorry You Weren't In It. It's called.
It's about a
Amazon
carer and
well, it's kind of about 0 hour. Well, she's a carer. Yeah. He's about a carer, but it's kind of about how 0 hour contracts and, you know, being you're not actually, you've got no workers' rights. You're, like, basically disposable.
On paper, it sounds like you choose your own hours, but it's all bollock. That's all bollocks,
yeah. I mean,
you work hard. You have to work hard.
You do, because that's how it's sold in the movie. Like, oh, you're your own boss. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, you work when you want, and you don't have to work. If you don't work, you don't get paid. But also, if you're sick, you don't get sick money. Yeah. And then you have to work more hours because, you know, you've got to bring home the bacon.
And they have to rent their vans. And
that's it. Yes, that's it. You probably
so
read
they're paying like 150 quid.
They have to take out a loan to pay for the van or whatever.
Yeah. No.
So it's sold to you as a good, you know, thing, but really, you know, you're more beholden to the corporations, and then in the pressure to, like, meet deadlines, and then you get penalties if you don't, and so really it's, you know, and in the film the characters, you know, she's working like a care, and again with that in the care profession, as you know, because you worked in the care profession, that you're not given enough time to deal with the clients, and they don't take into account sometimes
travelling
if something something happens that is not foreseen, you know, unforeseen.
You've still got to see the same number of clients.
And you've only got a limited amount of time. So I mean, and it is depressing, and and at the end, and there's not even like a little glimmer of hope like maybe you got with Daniel Blake. It's very nihilistic and.
Oh right.
So it was quite. Yeah, I mean, as a piece of cinema.
Not a date film then.
Well, I was with Stuart, so I hope not. No, it ruined.
Not first date.
It ruined the date. Not there. Yeah, leave it a couple of weeks maybe. But I mean,
if you want to get rid of her, maybe.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Oh, I thought we'd go and see Sorry You Weren't In, because it does sound like a rom-com, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of, you can imagine like if they a Hollywood sort of version. Sorry You Weren't In. It's like the guy turns up from Amazon or like a fictitious delivery, and he's about to leave the card, but he's really good looking.
Yeah.
Looks a bit like Brad Pitt and
puts his number on it.
And she calls him, and it's you can imagine how it goes.
Yeah.
It's it's probably got Jennifer Aniston in it, or no, would have had, not now. She's too old now, isn't she? Who's an equivalent Jennifer Aniston?
Emma Stone.
Oh yeah, because you've seen her from afar.
I have.
Well, not that far, was it? No, quite close. Let's give it to Emma Stone.
Yeah.
So who's the Amazon delivery guy? What's his name?
Oh, what's his name?
Gosling, Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've worked with together before.
Yeah.
So Ryan Gosling's the Amazon delivery guy, and yeah.
Sorry You Weren't In.
Sorry you weren't in, and then sorry I.
Could it be a musical?
Could be a
like
few
La La
songs,
Land?
and then I'm really sorry, but I put it in you.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a bit crude, but yeah. And then they have a baby, and whatever. That's the sequel. It's an Amazon delivery guy and a little lady, and then it's like it spins off, and they have a whole brood, and then God knows what happens. But
just mass globalization.
Yeah, global conspiracy, and they take over the world.
Yeah.
But so yeah, not but that's fighting against the multiplex of all the big franchise movies. And what you did say before we started this was about the Terminator movie.
Yes.
Because you asked me if I'd seen the latest one, and you were kind of under the assumption that James Cameron directed it, but that's right. And I said no, he came up with the story apparently, and produced it, but I can't think of the guy's name who directed. But it's the guy who directed the first Deadpool movie. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
Did you see the first one?
Yep.
Okay, it's him. But apparently they were at loggerheads and but there's this thing about franchises, like all the old classic franchises just aren't finding their audience because maybe people of our generation who you'd think in the past might be interested in, I mean, basically, our action stars of our era were Stallone.
They're all fucking...
And they're old, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Schwarzenegger.
Well, Stallone's still fucking trying, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. I was waiting to see the last Rambo movie.
Yeah.
Which was, watchable.
I mean, he's 70, isn't he?
He's 70. Well, Schwarzenegger's 70. They're all in their 70s.
But how does he...
Well, he's got baggy T-shirts on in this,
Has he?
So he wasn't really flexing his biceps. I think he's kind of accepted that he's, Although to be fair, Schwarzenegger still got his. Even him though, he wasn't like all ripped and
top
off.
How does that work with him? Like,
being a cyborg
and older?
Well, they kind of gloss over that because he kind of said,
There's a cyborg age.
He's kind of retired, so maybe when you accept that you've retired, you just age. Well, I think in others. I mean, I can't remember all the fucking. There's been so many reboots and reimaginings of all of the franchise, but I think there was some mention of that the skin ages,
right,
and they're still the same,
inside
feisty exoskeleton inside, but their skin sort of decomposes, a bit like us really, but like real people.
Yeah,
although maybe our skeleton also gets a bit more brittle. But so they've got really their skeleton is the same, but their skin ages.
Right, okay.
So I think that's how they've kind of got around it. So that's why he can be an old fuck. And they sort of play on that a little bit because he's retired now from the Terminating game.
Because he sort of turned from being...
Well, he's got a wife and kid in this, so...
He's just full-on nice guy.
He's full-on nice guy, and he what is he? Haberdashery. He's got a haberdashery firm. It's a bit of a joke, isn't it, really? Yeah, he does upholstery and feng shui and stuff. He designs people's...
Oh, you're not selling it.
No, I'm not selling it. It sounds... I mean, in a throwaway line, it's quite funny. I mean, they don't dwell on it. He's got a van. He's called Carl.
Right.
He's got a name now. He's not just the Terminator. He's Carl Terminator. He's Carl something.
Has he got any one-liners in it?
Yeah, he's got a few one-liners. I mean, actually, the one-liners do kind of land quite well, because he's still like, you still like the Terminator, but he's talking about, yes, these curtains are really nice. It's kind of says a bit
soft furnishings.
Yes, I love my soft furnishings. Yes, we must go to IKEA. So some of that kind of is fairly amusing. But they were saying like it didn't find an audience because the generation now, they're not interested in the Terminator.
No,
that's old fuckers like us.
They might not have seen it.
They probably hadn't even seen the original or care. They don't care who Arnold. They don't even care who Arnold Schwarzenegger is. He's that old bloke.
Fucking old.
He's that old fellow. Who was he a bodybuilder or was he? He was a governor somewhere. Somewhere wasn't he? I don't know. And that's what they're saying. Like all the old franchises really aren't finding an audience, and they've blamed a lot of this. The failure of this new film on it being. The whole thing now is, I mean, I don't pretend to understand this, but it's the SJW thing that we were going to come on because, or come on to, but how, like Disney have done with the Star Wars franchise, you could argue they've made gender an agenda, like the female leads are all front and centre now, and who would traditionally be male leads are now female leads. I mean, you could argue. So in the original Star Wars, Luke, Han, they were the main protagonist, I guess, and Leia obviously came into her own a bit later, but she was still, you could probably argue, more of a subsidiary character. And now, of course, the roles have kind of reversed, and you've got it's more like the male characters taking the back seat, and it's the female, leads that are, sort of driving the drama, if you like. And in the Terminator, you've got Linda Hamilton's back, all good. You've got a female protector who's like the analogue of Carl Reese. Obviously, in the original film would have been a male, but it's now a female, a protector, and then you've got the saviour of the universe is a little Hispanic girl. So, because John Connor, spoilers. Because they basically kill Edward Furlong off in the first. Because it's basically a direct sequel. It's supposed to be a direct sequel to Terminator 2. So they basically dismissed that Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation, Terminator Genesis. They sort of pretend that never happened. Right. So in this realm, in this universe, you've got Terminator, Terminator 2, and then this Dark Fate comes straight after. So it starts off, we've got de-aged Linda Hamilton, some little kid with Edward Furlong's head CGI'd onto him, getting an ice cream at some ice cream parlour, and Schwarzenegger rocks up, de-aged Terminator, de-aged, turns up, kills John Connor, and then, that's the beginning of the film. So they've got rid of Edward Furlong in the first 10 minutes. And then, we need a new sort of saviour, so they introduce this Hispanic girl, and it all transcends that she's gonna. This is where the film fails, because basically it is just a retread of the first two films. So you haven't got Skynet anymore. What are they called? I can't even think of their name now. But basically, it's Skynet. But because they've changed history, Skynet never existed. Right. But we've got this other thing that's just like Skynet. It's exactly the same, but it's called something else. So, okay. So why? Why do that? Why just needlessly change it? So it's the same thing, but it's just slightly different. So, Carl Reese is now this woman who's very, the actress she's very good in it. She's believable. The young Hispanic girl, perhaps a little less believable because she's only about 3 foot tall. You can't really imagine her being the saviour of the universe. But they sort of pointlessly changed Skynet to now some other sort of name. But again, people have said, but why do they still need Terminators then? And why have they still got the Terminator shape that came from Skynet? It kind of confuses the storylines. So they've changed the future, but you've still got Terminators in the future.
Wouldn't they be wiped out?
Exactly. Yeah, that whole paradox thing. Yeah, they would cease to exist, wouldn't they? The whole Back to the Future thing and all the rest of it. So they wouldn't exist, but they do in the future. So it just kind of muddles the whole storyline, and it ends up being very confusing and not really making a lot of sense. I mean, it's got some well-staged action sequences, and it's a little bit too CGI heavy at the end, and blah blah blah. It's kind of cute seeing Hamilton and Schwarzenegger together. They're probably the best things in it, really. Like they do have quite a good rapport and chemistry together, so that's quite good to watch. But as a film, yeah, it's probably as good as you could expect. But that's sort of
what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? Yeah, but like you say, as an audience, unless you're our generation, who's going to give a fuck? And that's unfortunately what's happened is it's cost a load of money and no one's going to see it. And I mean, it's really bombed big time in America, and it was a very expensive movie, and they reckon it's going to lose at least like $100 million. Right. So it's a bomb basically. And I think that is the danger with rehashing all these old franchises, isn't it?
Well, they're going to, well, franchises are, like, obviously Marvel is the biggest franchise.
It must have been ever, isn't it? Billions those films have taken.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know,
they got different phases. I mean, I think even that bubble's going to burst out, because I think like you've done all that. You've had all the top tier characters as far as American, as far as superhero awareness goes. You've had your Captain Americas, you've had your, well, even Iron Man wasn't that established. You've had your Hulks and your Captain Americas and all the rest of it, and your Spider-Mans, and they can still carry on, obviously, in different iterations. You can always have different actors playing them. But I think the danger is in it. It's like the law of diminishing returns, isn't it? It's like
it just waters it down.
It just waters it every time. So, okay, we're not going to have Robert Downey Jr. now. We're going to have some other guy play him. And, like, people are going to buy that. Like, he kind of defined the character.
The whole reboot thing.
Yeah, and I think as it goes on, like you say, it just dilutes it. And then it just becomes, like, and rehashes, and storylines start just repeating themselves.
For me, like, reboot is rehash.
Sort of, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, even with the Disney, the new Star Wars film, The Force Awakens. You haven't seen Force Awakens, haven't you?
No.
But I mean, it literally is a rehash of A New Hope. It's a rehash of, Rey is Luke, Kylo Ren is Darth Vader. It's all the same tropes, just rehashed. There's nothing original. For a new audience, we wouldn't remember it. Well, just take that storyline that happened 40 years ago, and we'll cast different people, but we'll tell the same story. And that's like the flaw in those films.
We'll hope that we sucker them in.
Yeah, and we'll get the old nostalgia freaks like me that go and see it because we're old and we remember they're going to see the first one.
Yeah.
So that's you can tell the bean counters think, look, we're going to get the old fuckers because it's got Star Wars and they want to see it, and we'll get the young kids because they don't know about that, or they've only seen bits of it from when their parents have shown it to them. So it's double whammy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think a lot of people they're getting a bit more wise to that now, and audiences aren't quite, a lot of them are stupid, but I mean, not all audiences are that stupid. No. And they go there, they sit there and they watch a film for 2 hours and they think, actually, I've seen this film before.
They're just fucking selling me the same.
They're just, they're selling me the same product. They're putting a new name on it.
Yeah.
It's like this washing powder, it's got a new name, but it's the same fucking product.
Like Snickers and Marathon.
Yeah, exactly. It all comes back to that, doesn't it? Yeah. It's all about advertising and, and that's effectively what it is, and you're being resold the stuff that you don't want again. And people are getting a little bit wise to it. So these films are struggling. So I mean, I think the new Star Wars film, Rise of Skywalker, it's going to make money, isn't it? People want to see.
You'll go and see it.
I'll go and see it. I'm going to see it. But I mean, it's the end of the trilogy. I mean, Christ, people went to see the prequels and they were like, how sort of poorly made were they? Do you know what I mean? They're like 2 hours of video game cut screens.
Yeah,
but
I mean, how memorable?
I don't think they're memorable at all, really. But I mean, but it is funny to if you do read forums, which I sadly do because I'm sad. A lot of people of not our generation, obviously, but the older generation or younger generation, sorry, they hold them up as that's their Star Wars film.
Right.
So they'll say, I don't know, actually, Phantom Menace is my favourite Star Wars film, and you're thinking like, what? But there are people who think that, And even the newer films, like, I mean, often I read people say, like, oh yeah, The Force Awakens, that's like my second favourite Star Wars film after, I don't know, Empire Strikes Back or something. You're thinking, really? But there are people who believe that, and so yeah, I guess it's a bit like the Doctor Who thing, isn't it? Where like, you know,
who's your favourite
Doctor Who?
Yeah.
So you know, our generation will be like Pertwee, maybe we just remember him, but Tom Baker primarily.
Yeah.
And then you can't accept another Doctor, so everyone who comes after that will be inferior.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like, you know, it's what you're used to, isn't it? You know, but the younger generation, you know, it's all about David Tennant. They're like, oh, he's the best Doctor ever. You know, he was good, I guess, but I mean, to me, no one will ever transcend Tom Baker. No. But you know, it's that generational thing again. We're back to that, like sensibilities have changed. Yeah. You know, and when we started about Kubrick, I mean,
and when you're like in your formative years, those things stick with you, don't they?
Yeah, of course.
It's like what we were saying about. We were speaking before about Exorcist and everything.
Yeah, we should bring that up again.
What an effect that had on us, and how
we saw it. When it was because obviously it was banned over here, wasn't it? For banned in the UK for decades, and it was only passed. It was only given a certificate, wasn't it, in the 90s?
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
I mean, it's crazy. It is crazy. And I remember, like, you know, because I'm sure, like you know, we sort of, I'm interested in censorship, especially in this country, because we are very sort of oppressively censored sort of country. Or we were much, you know, maybe more so back in the day. But when James Furman was the head of the British Board of Film Classification, he was very draconian. And he had very specific rules about what was acceptable to be shown. And yeah, I mean, he said, you know, it's not that this always made me laugh about his opinion on The Exorcist. It was banned because, or refused a certificate, which is effectively the same as being banned. It's not that it was a bad film; it was a good film, and that's why it was banned, because it was too good. It was too good a film. What sort of twisted logic is that? So it's so effective and it's so good that we can't really allow people to see this. And that was his justification for it having not be given a certificate. But of course, when he died, a lot of films were like, they went. I mean, it really was him dying.
Oh right.
Because he died in like sort of the 90s.
Oh right. Oh.
And then the new head was
he was that.
Oh, he was that powerful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was really powerful. So yeah, the new head said, like, right, we're going to reassess all these films, and that's where you got a glut of, you know, stuff like oh God, what's the Dustin Hoffman film?
Straw Dogs.
Straw Dogs.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of that stuff. All of a sudden, it started coming out. Or a lot of the video nasties, they started coming out, Burning, and you know, the sort of slasher movies, Friday the 13th and stuff was being released unedited. Evil Dead, all that stuff that had been on the video nasties list and banned.
All
of a sudden started getting
that.
Yeah, and that's why Exorcist was part of that sort of time. And so yeah, we like you said, we went to see it, and the audience were laughing.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, you know, how generations perceive stuff differently or whatever. I mean, we were saying how sort of beside ourselves we were.
Yeah, it made us angry.
Because why are you laughing at this masterpiece of a film? This is like a classic 70s horror film, and you're laughing at it. And you know, like we said earlier, it's because people had only ever seen the parodies of it.
Yeah.
You know, the Leslie Nielsen sort of Repossessed movie, and the jokes. You know, I mean, so many, the pea soup scene, and it was just endlessly parodied, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So people's natural reaction to seeing that scene was the gut reaction was to laugh, because that's how they responded to it in the past.
Yeah.
But obviously we'd seen the film.
That's right.
In the 80s, when it was originally released on VHS,
and there was nothing to compare it to, or
the parodies hadn't happened, had they?
No,
but it was prior to the parodies.
And
but it's just really, it is weird about perception and you know, generations. How, you know, films that probably we consider masterpieces, a modern audience would think were boring and slow and long, and you know,
it's
not interesting.
We were talking about The Shining and all that as well, weren't we? And
the
Apocalypse Now and
Kubrick's choice of shots and how he would let shots play out and scenes. I mean, you can imagine imagine 2001. You think The Shining is fucking...
Yeah,
even I struggle with 2001 now and again. I mean, I appreciate what a classic movie it is, but it's,
I think
it's not a lot happens in it, does it?
I think it took me... I mean, I've seen it quite a few times, but I'm not sure I've actually stayed awake.
No. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I would put it on if I wanted to fall asleep. It was a good cure for insomnia. But I mean that as a compliment because it was kind of soothing and it was almost like sort of therapeutic.
Something hypnotic.
Hypnotic, exactly, definitely.
Yeah. Trance-like.
Yeah, definitely. And
but I don't imagine that.
Would a modern audience connect with something that kind of something that
would they sit through that?
Yeah, I'm not sure they would. I mean, we've had sort of modern retellings like Interstellar. I don't know if you ever saw Interstellar, but
no, I haven't.
That's worth a watch. Actually, it's a pretty good film. The end's a little bit out there, but definitely inspired by Kubrick. I mean, that's Christopher Nolan, who I think is very influenced by Kubrick anyway. He's one of the few, isn't he, directors now who refuses to shoot digitally. It's all
Dunkirk.
Yeah, Dunkirk. I mean, all his films have been shot on film.
But you said about that's very slow and there's minimal dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so keen on Dunkirk. I just thought it lacked. We say Kubrick's cold, but I thought, for such an important movie, technically it's brilliant. I mean, you can't criticise his technical ability, and it's a brilliant technical showcase of his skills as a director, but it lacked a lot of heart and. Because there's so little dialogue in it, and you don't really get to know the characters in it, so they're not relatable because they're just kind of ciphers and empty vessels, and it's a hard film to kind of to latch onto anything apart from the visuals and the amazing sound design, which is fucking beyond anything. It's just brilliant. The Spitfire dogfight, there's a big Spitfire dogfight in and it's filmed, and it's with real, there might be a bit of CG enhancement, but most of it, I believe, is real Spitfires and Messerschmitts. No Fokkers though. And it's just the sound design. It's all around you, and the cuts of the dogfight. And it's just brilliant. I mean, but as a film, it left me very cold, and obviously, we've got. Sam Mendes has got 1917 coming out soon, isn't he? Which is World War One,
right?
Whereas Dunkirk obviously was World War Two, but he's done his own sort of. It looks a bit Kubrickian.
All right.
Like Paths of Glory. Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. So, I mean, apparently it's been shown on IMAX screens first because it's shot in 70mm wide, screen, I think, and then it'll get a later release on the pleb cinema, but it's had loads of rave reviews. The pre-release, but I mean so did Dunkirk. So I'll wait and see. I think the gimmick with this is that it's supposed to be it's all in one shot. Apparently, that's the gimmick.
The whole.
Well, it's not, but I mean, it's like a continual shot. It's meant to look like that. Yeah, right. Like the pacing is like it's all one event, and you're following it like
like you were there
for 2 hours or whatever,
right?
Which was kind of the thing with. I remember that was a thing with Dunkirk. There was a clock ticking in. I mean, I'm not sure if that was used in the movie, but it was definitely in the trailer because
but in real time.
Well, like Nolan likes doing a lot with his kind of it's non-linear storytelling, like Memento.
Yeah.
So you had a scene play out, and then you'd go back, but you'd see an event happening somewhere else, but it would be the same time.
Oh, okay.
So you would go back that time, and they made a virtue of that in the trailer because it was like a stopwatch, I think, clicking.
Right.
So it's almost like Sam Mendes has gone right. We're going to take that, but then we're going to actually have a clock ticking, but you're watching it on continual. We're not going to play with the linear, the time, the sort of structure. It is as is. So how that's going to work on how it's going to play out, I'm not sure, but probably worth seeing at the cinema. It's a spectacle, I guess, if nothing else. But I'm just hoping it's a bit more it's got a bit more heart than Dunkirk had, because that was lacking in that department. So I mean, I don't know if you've got anything to add. I need a toilet. That's why.
Yeah,
so. My bladders. We will end that, and because both our bladders are full, and
yeah, we're still going. But
okay.
Yeah.
We nearly did our hour, didn't we?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's not bad.
No, it's not bad. I think we kind of average an hour nowadays.
Yeah, I think we picked up everything that we'd already talked.
There was a little bit about, I was going to talk about, but I won't go on because we'll probably wet ourselves, because we're old now and we need tenner for men.
Just
a nappy. I should have put my nappy on.
Yeah, we should have done.
But I was going to say about how there was a thing about how in The Shining, because you were talking about earlier about Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
And I said I'd seen the movie, which I thought was a good movie, not a great movie, but a very good movie, very certainly. Well crafted movie, but we were talking about how a lot of criticism from King, but also many audiences who'd read the book didn't like Wendy's portrayal, in the movie, Shelley Duvall's, and my argument was going to be, and we were going to discuss this, maybe we'll do it another time, is that I actually felt that her portrayal was very realistic, and she's a little bit, you could argue, irritating, but I personally thought Kubrick got to the truth of those characters better than, maybe not, I can't say better than the book, but I mean, I think he found the truth in those characters that maybe people who love King's books, and also King himself, who was a detractor for that film, perhaps didn't appreciate.
But I think that's down to his style of how he directs. He breaks down like the actors, I think. Like we were talking about Eyes Wide Shut. And
yes,
like Tom
that was
Cruise
we were
going to
go into that, weren't we? Definitely.
Like how he broke them down from these Hollywood superstars.
Yeah.
And it's like
he sort of deconstructs them, didn't he?
I think that's what he does. Yeah. He deconstructs everything, doesn't he?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Place, time.
Yeah. He likes to get inside people's heads.
In fact, none of his films, I mean, even with The Shining,
psychologically damage these people, doesn't he?
Probably does.
Yeah.
But I mean, even Nicholson, okay, there's always a criticism of Nicholson, he always plays himself.
Yeah.
But even in The Shining, like you say, there was that element I don't think I ever once, obviously he had the reputation that preceded him, Jack Nicholson, but I can't really say, to me, Nicholson, the film kind of transcends the star power, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Basically,
yeah.
It's almost like Kubrick is bigger than any star. So even if you've got a massive star like Jack Nicholson, he's still just a character in a Kubrick movie.
Like in The Shining, the Overlook Hotel is probably
the character. That's the protagonist, isn't it? Or the antagonist, or whatever.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. His relationship with actors, I don't think they weren't that important.
No, I was going to say, he probably doesn't.
It is more about,
you're going to tell. I want to tell this story, and you're just there to help me tell this story.
The location, the environment, how he's going to shoot that, how it's going to look, is
the technical aspects are probably more important.
He will
a bit like Hitchcock in that regards. Probably.
Yes. Yeah, I think I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think he had much respect for actors, and I think he was slightly perverse in his because he was renowned for multiple takes, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he was doing that to facilitate the reaction he wanted.
To get the performance he wanted.
He didn't care that he was really mentally torturing these people. And fucking them up. And like we were talking about, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. How their marriage could have suffered from that. Their marriage crumbled after doing that film because it was such a horrible shoot. Everyone knew. It
was a really long shoot, wasn't it?
In
fact, isn't there? This is a thing, isn't it? There is Harvey Keitel was in that film. They cut there's loads of people that was cut from.
Oh right,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was in it and he got cut. And there's other. I think there's a whole subplot that was just excised from that movie. I mean, whether the footage still exists, I can't remember now. But I've not seen it since the cinema. I think. Yeah, I really haven't. But I remember being quite affected by it.
Yeah.
But you know, like you said, it's like it's not a Cruise movie. It's like it's still a Kubrick. He transcended the star power. Yeah. Like Kubrick was just a player in the Kubrick movie. He wasn't Tom Cruise. Yeah. Or he might have had top billion, but the Kubrick element was definitely the most important part of that movie. Yeah. And how it did. You know, because this was what I was saying earlier, which we didn't record, was someone was complaining that, you know, the basic plot is entitled whiny bloke finds out his woman has sexual fantasies and goes on a massive strop. Yeah. And that's effectively it. Yeah. There's nothing wrong in that synopsis. No. That is exactly what happens. Yeah. But in a way, that's kind of, I found that interesting because it's all about male fragility and, you know, the male ego, the fragile male ego. Yeah. It's like, hold on a minute, I'm a guy, only I can have sexual fantasies. My wife's having them, that's not allowed. Yeah. And it kind of spirals out into like chaos, doesn't it? Because all these paranoia and insecurities all come to the surface. So I actually think it's quite a very layered movie. Yeah. And Cruise is quite layered in it. Yeah. More so than a lot of stuff he's done.
I think because Kubrick broke him down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. You know, yeah. I don't want you as. You're not fucking Maverick. Yeah. I don't want Top Gun Maverick Cruise or shit-eating. You know, I don't want all that bollocks. No. I'm going to fucking, like you say, I'm going to deconstruct you. Yeah.
I'm going to get to the real.
I'm going to find out what makes you tick, mate.
Yeah. All your Scientology bollocks.
Yeah, all that. Yeah. Fuck
leave that at the door.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, you come in here. We're going to do 100 takes of like this scene, and you're going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
You know, and he like
definitely.
He made Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman do that.
Yeah.
He put them through that, and they did it.
I think probably Cruise suffered more from that than Kidman, I think.
His ego.
Yeah, I'm not sure Kidman's got an ego as big as him, so I think she probably would manage to ride it a bit better. Yeah. But I reckon that really tested
And like you say, you've not heard him talk about that film. I don't know if there is any.
No, there might be stuff on, but it would be interesting to hear his take on it. Like, you know, obviously he did a bit of PR around the film's release, like, you know, how great it was to work with Kubrick and all that, but I would like, you know, be interested to hear if it did psychologically affect him in any way. Well, it must have, I imagine.
It can't be a mistake that Kubrick chose.
No, I bet he chose them like you were saying earlier. A married couple, big starry, you know, star power, weren't they? They were always in the news, weren't they? Cruising, all the premieres, looking all glamorous and glitzy, and I bet that was a very deliberate.
Like,
maybe he thought like, I want to split them up. I want to ruin them. I'll do a film with them in it. I'll show them these bloody pretentious Hollywood stars.
But he was probably interested in the dynamic, wasn't he? Right. That's the image that everyone gets of them as a couple. Yeah. Let's actually see what they are really like. I want to get down to the bone of.
That's the Hello magazine. Front cover version.
Let's see what a couple
really, how it really reacts and you know, works and operates. Yeah. And I think that film is really good at that. Yeah, it's like a bit long and it's a bit silly with all the masks and the gangbangs and the, you know, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, I still think it's a very interesting film. Yeah. And it is again, there's truth in it, like there is in The Shining.
And it is slightly unnerving as well.
It is. Like, you've got all the weird chanting and stuff.
And the music, like the piano.
Ding,
bang, 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 bang. Yeah, there's something like not right about it.
Yeah, it's not your traditional.
No, it makes
Tom Cruise movie.
It makes you feel a bit uncomfortable.
It does, definitely, and for that reason, I did enjoy it. And maybe I need to revisit it because I literally haven't watched it. I think it was on TV a few weeks back, and I watched a little bit of it. But
there's that whole section in the like costume. Do you remember when
he's going to pick his mask or something? Or he's going to
and there's like a Japanese. Don't you remember? Like it's run by some Japanese bloke, and there's like people.
Oh, they were like fornicating in the.
There's all these Japanese people like all dressed up, like hiding.
What, behind
and they come
plinths?
No, do you not?
I don't. Like I said, I literally.
No, it's not
haven't-
run by a Japanese person.
I
It's
know
run
there's
by
lots
some
of
bloke
weird,
with a beard.
strange characters in it.
Some,
I think there's some strange cameos from like some Brit actors, isn't it? Because obviously it was filmed over here.
yeah.
Hasn't it got some strange cameos in it? I can't remember. I literally haven't seen it for. I watched. I think the bit I watched recently was when it was on TV. I only watched it for a couple of minutes. It's where he's putting his mask on and he's like in with everyone else, so he doesn't. I mean, is Nicole there as well? I can't even remember if she.
No, she's not there.
She's not, is she? Because she has that fantasy about a military guy, doesn't she?
Yeah.
With like his uniform on.
And she's at some party, isn't she? And
then he gets like.
she's dancing with some
that's
bloke,
right.
isn't
That's
she?
right. And she's already revealed that she had a fantasy. Because she's been honest, hasn't she, to Tom Cruise and said, "Oh, I had a fantasy about a military," and then
That's it.
and then that sort of starts the ball rolling, doesn't it? And he gets really sort of insecure, and then she's dancing with a military guy, so that sort of perpetuates.
And then
his
they're talking
insecurity.
I don't know if you remember, but they talk in very staccato, like when she's dancing with this bloke.
Oh yeah, it's quite
they're
stilted, isn't it?
Like a funny sort of like it's, which is another Kubrick thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's like
sort of naturalism, but
it's like hyper realism.
Yeah, almost Brechtian. Well,
Yeah.
not Brechtian, I don't know if it's Brechtian, but Pinteresque probably more.
Yes,
But
yes,
yeah, it's more Pinteresque.
yeah, it is. Yeah, very stilted.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Or William Shatner acting for the American
Yeah.
who's listen to this. But yeah, it's kind
No,
of.
it is very Pinter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably
No, they're very similar actually.
he probably would have done a good Pinter adaptation if he'd ever got around to it.
Yeah.
And I can imagine him doing
Because a
that.
lot of Pinter stuff is very sort of deconstructing.
It is, but it gets to the fucking heart of of
and it's
humanity,
very
isn't it?
unnerving as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Because it touches so many nerves. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
Like with the human condition.
And maybe the staccato, the dialogue, it kind of gets the message across better than naturalistic dialogue.
Yeah.
Which you might lose like the meaning. It's probably all about meaning with Kubrick, and even like 2001, that's also got very stilted dialogue. And it's kind of very sort of clinical, but it's wanting to get across the message in the purest form, and almost cut down on interpretation and misinterpretation.
Same with Full Metal Jacket.
Yes, exactly.
The way,
because they are all very Full Metal Jacket, caseless, whatever it is, rounds. It's all very.
Yeah.
It is almost like reading a shopping list, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it kind of gets the message across. And that's kind of, I mean, that must have been a conscious.
There's a starkness, isn't there, like to all of his films.
Definitely. Even his early stuff, like The Killing and stuff like that. And I remember there was a season of his films on, wasn't his early stuff. And there's that interesting Sky documentary, if you ever get a chance to watch it, about him, about his work, and and about his association with because Kirk Douglas chose him, particularly for. Paths of Glory.
Oh, right.
Well, I think it was. I think that was his project. I think that was Kurt Douglas' project. And then obviously they worked together with Spartacus.
Yeah, I love that film.
Paths of Glory. Absolute masterpiece.
Yeah, Kirk Douglas.
Yeah, brilliant. No, it's absolutely. I mean, and very. He's timeless as well.
Yeah.
I think you could watch that now, and it hasn't dated at all. And it's it's a brilliant, and it's tense as well.
Yeah.
No, it's a superb film.
Yeah.
But I really do need to wee now.
Yeah,
so hope you enjoyed that. We went on a little bit longer,
but
and the audience, and watch out and wait for us soon for another podcast.
Maybe soon, maybe
never.
Bye.
Right, adios.